Hello, welcome to the first official Negative World podcast. My name is Pandarius. Today is the January 29th, and with me today we have
Dr. Finkelstein.
This is CPA Way reporting in.
And Gelatinous Zankor, what's up?
Hey, so the first official Negative World podcast. If somehow, for some reason, someone who's not from Negative World is listening to this, and I'm just saying that because that's not going to happen.
Join us, please. We're awesome.
I don't even know what Negative World is. Could you fill me in?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, what is this about?
Okay. So for everyone who doesn't know what Negative World is, it's basically a site/message board, mostly a message board, and
right.
It's strongly Nintendo focused, and it was started by Zero about 8-9 years ago. I don't know the exact history because I wasn't there for that long, but basically he started that site as a project for school, and his friends joined and his family, and then not much happened until maybe a year and a half ago, where suddenly things really picked up because I think we're all from another message board where we got a little bit fed up with let's say I call them mouth breathers, but that's not very nice. We got fed up with the people who would go to Nintendo message boards just to talk about how much dust their Wii was collecting and things like that. And right.
So ironically, we came to the Negative World.
Yeah, basically, where we can, we can be fanboys about Nintendo, or we can be critical, but mainly it's just to get away from the rabble, I guess, and just to discuss Nintendo amongst fans who have something more to say than how much they haven't touched their Wii in the last year or whatever. And that's pretty much the.
But we also talk about other systems. It's not just Nintendo, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can talk about anything.
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton of off-topic posts.
Right.
It's mainly a place we gather because we all know each other from that other message board, and we can discuss Nintendo or other things because I don't know, we find each other awesome or something. So yeah, that's a brief explanation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sure a lot of us play PlayStation 3 and Xbox too, right? We're gamers. We play everything.
Well, yeah.
We're not close-minded fanboys or anything like that.
Don't forget about the handheld, the PSP, right?
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, sometimes I play the PSP.
And that was a nice long explanation. Here I always thought it was just a glitch in Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's where the name comes from. Apparently, in Zero's corner of the world, they called the glitch in Super Mario World where you played that infinite looping stage.
World -1.
Yeah, that's what I called it. World -1, or
right.
whatever. I was French. Still am, but whatever. But yeah, apparently in his part of the world, it's called the Negative World, and that's what he decided to name his website. And I think that sums it up, basically. And the address is negativeworld.org, and anyone listening to this somehow can basically join, unless it's to stir up trouble. Then we don't want you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
So the format today that we're going to follow, basically I stole the format from the BitMob podcast, the Mobcast, because they're also a community podcast, and I think it's a nice format. Basically, we've got 4 people here, and each person brings his own topic to the table, and talks about it for a little while, like presents it, and then we spend some time discussing it. So we're actually going to move in right to the topic I chose, which is Wiiware.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I love Wiiware. I won't hide it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I love pretty much like all of the downloadable game services that I've used because I don't know about you guys, but you know, as I get older, I get maybe a little less time to sink my teeth into an 80-hour long quest, and also, you know, like you've got other priorities and like limited cash, so I feel much better, or it's much easier for me to spend like $5 or $10 on a small game that I'm actually going to finish than spending $60 for like buying a big game, like retail game day one, and probably never finish it. You know, like play it for about 10 hours and then move on. So yeah, like that's the strength for me for the downloadable services, all of them. Basically, you know, you don't spend much, and you get to discover interesting new games all the time. And yeah, I think that there's a whole lot of variety. And unfortunately, my beef is that a lot of people, a lot of people ignore Wiiware in favor of XBLA or maybe PSN, but mostly XBLA, I think. And you know, I can understand. Nintendo is not doing a whole lot to promote Wiiware, so people don't really know that, aren't really aware of the games that are on the service. Also, like there's several other barriers. For instance, like developers are limited to like 40 megabyte files, so they are extremely limited in what they can bring to the service. Mm-hmm. And there's also all sorts of like lingering questions that we don't really have an answer from Nintendo for. For instance, what is going to happen to all of the stuff that you bought off their service if you decide to upgrade your console when the next one rolls out, you know? Or even like if your console breaks, then you have to buy a new one. And if you want to keep all of the downloadable games that you've downloaded, then you actually have to send it in to Nintendo so that they can do the switch manually. Your games are not tied to an account, and that's one of the big big flaws, I think. One of the big reasons why people don't really pay attention to Wiiware. But I think that's a mistake. You know, I think that they should. I've downloaded a hell of a lot of games on the service. I'm not going to say how much I spent, but okay, yeah, probably like in the hundreds of dollars. And I actually calculated a little bit earlier as research for this podcast. I checked on the Nintendo channel, and I spent like 200 hours on Wiiware games in total.
Nice. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And like it pales in comparison to like the retail games that can take like 30 hours each to go through. So, you know, like definitely like there are smaller bite-sized experiences. But I think there's a lot of, you know, clever stuff out there, a lot of originality that people miss out on because maybe, yeah, because they're missing out because they don't know enough about it.
I think that's a really good point in regards to the downloadable services. This doesn't apply to Wiiware, but all downloadable services.
No, that's true.
It basically opens up, allows developers to create more interesting games that do not have to be focused grouped to death or do not have to be absolutely under the control of marketers. There was also a case with Castle Crashers. Behemoth's a bit more well known than most small developers, where when they were trying to get Castle Crashers published, they were pitching it to publishers, and a lot of them agree that it's a fun game, but they either want a license attached to it, or they're asking them, how do you market it? Eventually, Xbox Live Arcade came out, and they were able to push it through that way.
No, that's
sure.
definitely a good point. But the thing is, like, isn't like Microsoft the one that decided to publish it after all, or is that published by Behemoth themselves?
I actually do not remember that that one.
Okay, well, from what I know, apparently to fund XBLA you need a publisher. You can't self-publish. And
you do? I
well,
didn't know that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, like the people who did Joe Danger on PSN, that's the reason why they didn't bring it to XBLA. Like they shopped for a publisher, and you know, like the publishers had like stupid demands, like why don't you make the character a monkey instead, and things like that, and they wouldn't have any of it. So this decided to self-publish, and so that's why the game is on PSN. And it's the same thing for Wiiware. Like the developers can just publish themselves, and I think that's one of the strengths. You know, like the thing about XBLA and PSN, like you get a lot of games published by EA or THQ or even Activision, and okay, so like they're pretty. They're starting to get pretty big, like, don't you think? Like, they start to get, like, pretty ambitious. And somehow, like, well, I'm speaking for myself here, but I think that it leads to slightly less interesting games. For instance, there is Death Spank, which came out, which a lot of people love, and I can understand why they like that game. You know, like, it was written by Ron Gilbert. It's pretty funny, but the game is basically a hack and slash, kind of like a Diablo for consoles, and somehow, you know, that doesn't really interest me that much.
Right. The problem I have with Wiiware is, even though there are a lot of original games in there, you know, exclusives like the Bit Trip games, World of Goo, stuff like that, a lot of XBLA and PSN games actually don't come out on Wiiware. I don't know why, but we're missing out on a lot of stuff like, I don't know, Super Meat Boy, River City Rampage, you know, and maybe that's because of size limitations or something. I don't know.
It mostly is size limitation. That's, I think, what's the issue with Super Meat Boy right now.
That's a big problem, I think.
With Super Meat Boy, they're not unable to release it on WiiWare, and so the only way it would appear on the Wii is through a retail release, which Super Meat Boy doesn't really have the resources. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Yeah, so there's no way, since Super Meat Boy does. The developer of Super Meat Boy doesn't have the resources to pull off a retail release, and they can't release it on the WiiWare because of the size limitations.
I think that's a big problem. I mean,
yeah, Dr. Pink.
I was just going to say, so based on what we've been talking about here, then that shows that Nintendo has this kind of good basic structure where these indie developers can really kind of do what they want and with minimal restriction and push the stuff out. But the thing is, Nintendo then isn't keeping up their end of the bargain and pushing that out or making it easier for them to do what they want. You know, they're not telling people to change this, to change that, but the 40 megabyte cap, their infrastructure out of the backbone isn't supporting what they are trying to do, which is just a shame. I mean, I like Xbox Live Arcade quite a bit in what I've done with it so far, because it seems simple to navigate. The games can vary, and it seems like there's a lot more option, but it's frustrating then when I want to support WiiWare, but like you said, Super Meat Boy and this Retro City Rampage, I think, was it confirmed that was a sides thing, and that's why it's probably not going to come out on the WiiWare? Or?
Okay, yeah, no, Super Meat Boy, they came out and said, like, yes, it's because of the file size. Right. Retro City Rampage is actually just delayed, and I think it's delayed because, like, Microsoft...
I don't see it coming out, though. I mean...
well, I don't know.
Who knows, but...
From what I've read, you know, like, the developer was really apologetic, but he was, like, really committed for it to come out on WiiWare, and apparently, like, he's not actually going to add anything to the game, really, now that it's going to come out on XBLA. I think that the thing is, he probably, like, got a deal with Microsoft, and I think that deal specifies that the game has to come out later on other services. You know,
Oh,
like
I see.
What's kind of a shame though with that game is that most of the I don't have a count, but most of the references made are probably from Nintendo games, back in the day. So it's time for this, for people like us who have been playing Nintendo for so long and are still doing that today, and yet we're now going to have to go possibly somewhere else. Well, you said that it's going to be delayed, so luckily that won't be a case. But the fact that there's even a chance that this thing wouldn't come out on Wiiware is just kind of a damn shame,
Oh, it is.
To bring out the size issue, actually Microsoft used to have a cap also, and that was in order for people that did not purchase one of the SKUs with the Xbox 360 that came with a hard drive. They did impose a cap so that they were able to just download into the memory unit instead. They did not raise the cap until later on. I don't remember which game it was. It was either Castlevania Symphony of the Night or Street Fighter 2. Long title. Super Street Fighter 2
HD Turbo Remix.
HD Turbo Remix. And it wasn't until that came around, and the long Super Street Fighter 2 name was also released on PSN. So that kind of forced Microsoft's hand to basically raise and remove the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So.
From what we read, like apparently Nintendo can't raise the cap, the file size cap, because of like technical reasons. Like,
there's no space. There's no space in the system, and
the thing is, the games themselves run off the system. So even though they later on included SD card capabilities,
you still play from the system. It's just
the game copies itself from the SD card into the system, and then you play it. So they can't raise the cap because
you still need to have the space on the system, and
the Wii file size of 512, I believe, it's very little space, especially when you count game saves and other miscellaneous channels that get downloaded into it. They just can't raise the space. They won't be able to pull that off with this system.
No,
hopefully next system will have it fixed, but.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask. Is we have the 3DS on its way, and DSiWare is going to be part of that. I think it's going to be a big part of that. And, it comes with the 2 gigabyte memory card, which then can be upgraded anyway to, I forget exactly what size, but do you think that there's going to be similar caps anyway, or do you think that those will be gone because of the fact that, there is an option to upgrade your space, and everything does run off the cards now?
Okay, well, like the thing is, like Nintendo has said all the right things right now, recently, but they're just words, right?
Right.
But like according, definitely, and but like what they've been is that they recognize that the stores, like the Wii shop and the DSi shop are really, really, really atrocious, and like that they have a lot of work to do to make those like appealing or like easy to use or even just like plain usable, like. And also, like, it seems like it's so weird. Like, like last year, like a year ago, Nintendo came out with like a demo program, but apparently it was just a pilot. And so you could download demos for Wiiware titles. Mm-hmm. And then, like, for a year, absolutely nothing. And all of a sudden, just before the holidays this year, they rolled it out again. So. I don't know, like sometimes like you really, really feel like they don't care, like you feel like Nintendo hasn't improved its store because like they just like it's not even like a factor for them. They're not interested in that. They've barely released any WiiWare games themselves, except for the art style games, which I find like fantastic personally.
They're good.
Yeah, like Cubello, my favorite. Like today I saw that I spent like 5 hours on that, and like to me that's just about right. Like $6, 5 hours. That's cheaper than the movie. It lasts longer, and like it's a cool idea that I just saw through to the end. Anyway, I love WiiWare.
Well, I was going to
there are a lot of great games on WiiWare,
and with that,
tons of good games.
With that fact, though, because there are a lot of great games, and you were saying that you had 200 hours, Panda?
Yeah, basically. Like the one I play the most is Bit Runner.
Right.
which is fantastic, and like that's the thing, like people ignore those games, but the Trip Runner, it's okay, it's made by like 3 guys,
Right.
and so it's not like amazing production values, but Alex Noisy, the spokesperson for that team, has worked at LucasArts for like a good number of years. Like these guys are experienced and they know game design. Like you can watch on YouTube like presentations that they give, or like you can hear them talk. Like often they've got like interviews on Destructoid. Like they know game design. They know how to make something interesting, how to make it play well, how to make it fun, and that's something that WiiWare has. Like these games that have so much potential and that so many people could love, I think, but just don't know about.
Would you say?
I think. Sorry.
I was just going to say, what my point was before was that, would you say that your game time to dollar ratio would be greater with WiiWare than it is your actual console games? Because
I've got no idea. I've got no idea. The thing is, like on retail, like you can buy stuff on sale or whatever. Like, and a lot of the time, well, I'm a bad example because I basically buy games and don't play them afterwards. I've got a huge backlog. I could see that.
We all do.
Yeah. I could see in the Nintendo Channel records that I've got several retail games that I've played for like 30, 40 hours. So like WiiWare doesn't compare to those. But still, like games like Fluidity, which is just like $12, the Trip Runner, which was $8, and another one that lasted me a long time was Final Fantasy: My Life as a Dark Lord, that came in at like 12 hours. Like I would say that those are pretty meaty experiences,
Right.
I've got retail games.
World of Goo is a great game, and it lasted me a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's an amazing game.
Yeah. To switch back to the topic on how people don't pay attention to WiiWare games, it actually one issue that do have with Nintendo is they don't really do enough to promote the service. And just going into the Wii Shop channel itself, you don't really get to see much. You see basically four games or software listed, and then whenever you want to switch to a page, you have to load in between every page. I don't believe they're doing enough to kind of do a marketing for it. Actually, speaking of World of Goo, since you mentioned that, G, Nintendo actually sent a message through that Wii message board thing to people to promote World of Goo, actually. So they can do a little promotion, but they just haven't really done it outside of very few select titles like World of Goo.
Well, for my setup at home right now, I've got the one TV and I've got the Wii and the Xbox next to each other, right? And I've been playing a lot of XBLA right now, so I've got the yellow, white, red cables plugged into the Xbox. So my Wii is not plugged in. Like I'm not going to be seeing that Wii Shop channel, but I still get every Friday that email that has the games in it, But that's not really enough because lately, I mean, they've been. If I get an email or two where the games are boring to me, then I'm not really going to keep worrying about that. And if it wasn't for I think it's Ludist on Negative World who posts every Monday what games have come out, I wouldn't even know what's been added to the system. Like that's how
you can go to press.nintendo.com and they list them there.
But
the thing is,
maybe I can.
The thing is, even
person,
The thing is, even though only do so much when it's just basically listing a bunch of titles. But speaking of Xbox, I honestly have not spent too much time on WiiWare. I play most of it on Xbox Live Arcade or Steam. And on Xbox Live Arcade and Steam, they actually have promote. So when you open them up, when you boot up your Xbox 360 and you go into the main channel and you just flip over to the games, they show deals going on games, or just like have a new game promoted on the front page. And that kind of at least gets people's attention. And the WiiWare doesn't do that as much, so you don't really know the stuff is coming.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah. The thing is, like, okay, so Nintendo sends like press releases, and that's the thing, though. Like, you have to look for them. Whereas, like, XBLA would just like push the games at you, and like you can't ignore them. I think that the Nintendo channel has been like Nintendo's way of trying to give more visibility to those games, but they're not doing a very good job at it. And like it would,
I don't think everyone watches the Nintendo channel.
I watch it all the time.
Really?
Whenever I see it, it's on YouTube, so I don't go into the system. That's not where I would see it.
It's a bit complicated to market games through the Nintendo channel.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a lot better.
More efforts. When they have to show where people don't have to try, then that's effective marketing.
All right. Well, wow. I wanted to talk about DSiWare as well, but we really don't have the time. I'll just say that at least like Nintendo is going to push like demos and videos and everything on the 3DS. And I think that bodes well for like the next console. Perhaps like the Wii.
And they're going to put out Game Boy games too.
Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, perhaps like there's no solution for the Wii. Perhaps like the hardware isn't enough for it. But definitely there are some like incredibly interesting titles that are perhaps a bit like janky. Like I write reviews on Negative World for a lot of them, and I can't give them the highest recommendation, but I still feel like they're worth playing.
Everyone play Lost Winds. Great games, both of them.
And
please do.
Everyone who thinks that a game where you throw a baseball with like random people in the park and you listen to their live stories, anyone who finds that interesting should download Let's Catch. But see, like that's the thing. Like I can't recommend that title without saying like, hey, if you're one of those people.
What a bigot.
I'm definitely one of them.
Maybe we too. We will have more space and more games.
I hope so.
I think that they're learning from all this. So hopefully the next systems will be even more in line with what we all want and need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, sorry.
And I think the 3DS will hopefully give a good sign of it. Hopefully they improve the actually navigating the shop channel, and we'll also be able to run our games directly off the SD card or whatever other memory they're going to use.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it improves. It can't be worse.
All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of things that got worse.
Can't get worse? Really? Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to Dr. Fink's topic. Tell us what it is.
Okay, I wanted to bring to the table one of my most beloved aspects of Nintendo gaming, which was Animal Crossing. And I'm going to do it by first painting you a little picture of my history with it. All right, so I was just starting out my 11th grade in high school many, many years ago, and there's one thing on my mind, though, like that September, which was the coming of Animal Crossing. And at the time, I had been studying Japanese, so I was spending my summer months, surfing the internet and reading these Japanese screenshots and trying to translate them to get information, on what the A button did, and being a total nerd like that. And I was just really hyped for it. I'm not sure why the bug caught me, but it did. And I remember sitting at my computer, and my mom comes home from work one day, and instead of like going off to do her own normal after-work routine, she comes right towards me, and out of her purse she pulled out Animal Crossing. And I just flipped out. Like, I was so excited. And I haven't played recently in the past, probably around since City Folk came out, but I played so much for all these years. It's one of those things that's I've always gone back to, which not many games can do that. And by the very nature of it, that's just how it's designed. But so that was 8 years ago, and the series still holds that feeling for me even today. And I wanted to just explain to the listeners out there what Animal Crossing is, very briefly. It's a life sim for multiple Nintendo platforms, which has so much charm and so much content that it can last quite a long time. The first one for the GameCube contained a lot of collecting things, especially the NES games, which people really go back to constantly, especially when they don't want to pay $5 for Mario Brothers on the Virtual Console. Although I don't know if Mario in Animal Crossing, the first one. I don't.
It might have been like one of those like rarer unlockables,
right? But there were still like 20 of them. Clu Clu Land that was my first experience with that game, and that
there
game
was Donkey Kong. Clu Clu Land was one of them. Soccer.
Right.
Various others.
I think that Super Mario was unlockable only through like a special code that you could redeem, and like games like Punch Out and Wario's Wood would be Wario's Woods. Sorry,
right.
could only be unlocked through like the GBA and stuff.
Sure.
So like the Meteor games were tougher to unlock.
Yeah, and so and going in with that, it wasn't just the NES games, but there was all sorts of item trading and everything. And one thing that I think is notable about the game is that before Nintendo had an online structure, there was this code-based system where you could trade with people across the country, across the world, without needing an internet connection. And yeah, it was a little tedious, but it was still quite innovative in my opinion. And so anyway, so the community aspect of the whole thing was just something else that kind of made it really important to me. Like I was able to trade fruit with people, which was integral to the game. There's a website called AnimalCrossingCommunity.com, I think it is. I hope that's what it is. But that they had so much going on there, and generally it was a little aimed like there was a lot of younger users, so it was hard to have any decent conversations besides your basic trading. But yeah, I mean the game, even before there was an online structure, was just very community based, and I really love that aspect. And then the game itself is designed, you're this character in this community. So then they came out with the Wild World on the DS, and that gave us the log rolling style, and it just made everything better. Essentially, the music, the characters, the items. But then City Folk comes along on the Wii. And my hype was so high at this point because this love just kept growing. The ball just kept rolling down that hill, and unfortunately, in my opinion, it was quite upsetting because the music was completely rehashed. The items were very bland and the same thing, which is a big part of the whole thing. And then all like the city aspect was kind of neat at first, but they just took everything out of the land and put it into a city, and that was only a screen. It was pretty much was a small stage of doors, and so I don't know, that the game really kind of was disappointing to me as someone who had been with the series since its American inception. But it's still a great game for anyone who hasn't played any games, and I do get a lot of slack for saying that I'm disappointed in it. But I'm now really excited for the 3DS version, maybe blindly, but with all the new things that the couple of screenshots seem to show, as simple things like a beach on the left side of the screen. Like, that sounds stupid, but it does show some dramatic changes that have not been seen yet. So I'm thinking that there's a lot more going on behind closed doors because of the anger that we've all kind of felt. So I guess I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Maybe our hopes for the 3DS version, but just if anyone else has felt the magic of Animal Crossing, let me know, because I know I'm not alone. I don't have many plush, figurines. Besides like the Harvest Moon pre-order stuff, but I do have Pascal, the sea otter, and the boy character as a fishing guy. So my love for this game goes very deep, and so I don't know if you guys feel the same way or disagree, but
well,
I've never played Animal Crossing, and every time I hear about it, I still have no interest in playing Animal Crossing. I don't know. Maybe I don't get it. I don't know.
You have to feel the magic.
Right.
I would have to say so.
Speak of my own, I have played Animal Crossing. I played the original, well, not the original, it's for the first one that came to US on the GameCube, and I played the Wild World on the DS.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not even bother with City Folk. When I first played Animal Crossing, it was a wonderful experience collecting stuff. There was a lot of charm just with the different animals and seeing their different personalities, paying off and just striving to pay off that huge debt that Tom Nook sent me with. At least he didn't foreclose on me or anything like that. Or is that too soon to mention foreclosures? But but then Wild World came around. I did not pay off my debts, but Tom Nook is not building up interest, so I guess that's a good thing. And I just started getting tired of it. It's just running around doing the chores for people. And also another thing that bothered me in the Wild World was that I had to start watering flowers.
Oh, yeah.
And it just added like another additional thing to have to worry about. And I heard in City Folk, if you run on the land too much, eventually the grass disappears and it becomes dirt.
It becomes dirt. Yeah.
Yeah, so
it takes a lot longer for it to grow back than it does to be removed, which is one of the big problems that City Folk had.
And I think that's a huge issue, that some of the things they're adding in is giving the player even more chores to do instead of pushing up the stronger points of it, such as the character interaction, the different events, and collecting various items.
Well, yeah, in City Folk, if I'm remembering this correctly, you no longer do trades with the NPCs the same way that you did in the original, where you'd have to go deliver something to someone else, and then but they don't have the Game Boy you're looking for, so then you got to go find It sounds ridiculous, but it's entertaining, and but I think they did take that out, and left it to mainly asking you if they can have that fish in your pocket or that piece of furniture you're holding on to and that sort of thing. And that seemed like a step backwards. The dirt thing, that sounded so cool when I was reading up about it in 2006 or when before it came out. It was such a brilliant idea because you do end up running on these similar paths and certain things that it would give each its own little special. Everybody's world would be a little bit more particular and special, but the problem is that it does. It just wears down so quickly, and it takes forever to grow back. And if you plant flowers there, it's supposed to help, but it doesn't. And when the system is off, it doesn't really matter. You have to keep playing for them to grow. So I couldn't go back to my world right now and everything be fixed again. It would just be as crappy as it was before. So that was a step. I don't know what they were thinking with these step backwards. And then putting Red, who would come visit your town randomly, putting him in the city, I guess makes some sense. But it's still, once you go to him once, if you buy him out, then he's gone, or he closes up for a week anyway. So then he's just a locked door in the city. It just. I was thinking a lot about the island from the first game and the Game Boy Advance connectivity with that, and I did use that relatively often. It was great because if it was the wintertime, you could still go to the island and get some summer fruits, or I think the coconuts were only available on the island, which I do like.
Yeah,
that now.
I did that as well.
Right, and then there was a special character, and you could get a tan, and that was a lot more interactive than just having
the
a
city was.
Yeah.
Wait, you could get a tan?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
You can get a tan.
You need to get outdoors more often.
Yeah.
By staying indoors, and yeah, but no, you could do that back in the day, and so there was more charm in taking the little rickety boat with Kappa to the island than there was taking Kappa's bus to the city, which has a guy selling balloons, and then and that's essentially it. I mean, yeah, they had shops and they had your hairstyle, but it all made sense to be in your town, so there was no sense to move it, And I don't know if they're going to have anything like that in the next one for the 3DS. That'll be interesting to see, because there is no, in the name itself so far, there is no gimmick for that. I don't know. There was something that just kind of went wrong for me in City Folk, but I still love the series so much.
The thing is, when that series came out, in North America and the Cube, I bought it immediately because I thought it was so cool. Just the idea that you would have this town that would, you would play in real time. If you had an event that came at Christmas, you had to be playing the game during Christmas.
Right.
And if you wanted to fish a certain type of fish, and that fish came out only during the evening, you had to be playing during the evening.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing could sound like a chore, but it just made it so cool. It was differentiating it from anything else that Nintendo ever made.
Yeah.
But I think that once the novelty of going every day to your town to buy these new pieces of furniture at Tom Nook's, or things like that, the real time element and
enables and yeah.
Yeah, so once that wears out, I actually bought the DS version, and okay, so they added online. You could visit each other's towns, but that was the start of the whole friend code thing, which was a little bit more trouble than it was worth, I thought. And I think that was the only main innovation that they brought in that game that I really cared about anyway.
And they did the scrolling world thing.
Yeah, I didn't really notice a difference personally, but
I like it now.
So you didn't like watering flowers?
not really. But that's basically when I decided that I was done with the series.
What you guys are all
Right.
talking about right now shows exactly the problem with this situation. I mean, I do enjoy collecting all the furniture and all the shirts and all that stupid stuff. I never accomplish it, but I do like doing it for however long. I like fishing early in the morning or late at night because I have to go for that specific fish. But the flowers, that can be tedious, and even just trying to collect everything can be tedious, and that's the place that it's at now. They have to A, reinvigorate that, but B, focus on the community aspect, which I'm not so sure you guys got that experience that I did with it, from what it sounds like, because I was, like I said, I was a part of that forum site where one of my friends, this girl who lives in California, who I still talk to on occasion, I met her through Animal Crossing, and we she's about my age or something, but
You still exchange fruit?
no. We talk on the internet and stuff. We're
Oh.
Facebook buddies and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but we met because we randomly, I think, probably decided to trade fruit or something one day, and then we kind of teamed up, and then we just started talking, and then you end up like pretty much what Nintendo doesn't want anyone to do because we're all rapists, but like
Thank you for admitting it.
But like with the one friend code thing on the DS or the 3DS, I'm hoping that they will ease up a little bit and make it even easier because the community aspect is what makes the game so special. First it was codes, that's done now. That's fine because now you can trade via the internet. And now with the spot pass or the whatever all the different features that 3DS has, maybe I can trade with someone I'm walking past, or there's just so many ideas that I'm hoping to God they tap into, because I will love the series to my deathbed, but I just want it to live up to my expectations at least like halfway.
But I think aside from the community aspect, they can also do more to make it more interesting to collect furniture. Like you mentioned before, I never played City Folk, but you mentioned it, that City Folk, they kind of took out the fetch quest where you had to run to this person to get the item back.
Right.
I think and that was kind of a step backwards. I think they can take it a little further and maybe make a lot more variety and different types of quote-unquote quest types activities to just do things for the villagers.
Right.
So it's not the same usual way of collecting your items. And maybe it can also kind of take a page out of Harvest Moon. Not sure if people here are familiar with that series.
I love that series, yeah.
Yeah, I love that series. Maybe, of course, they can make it entirely scripted because Harvest Moon is a more limited game with actual calendar. But maybe they can do randomly. The game will pull out the code. There's an event will happen today, and the villager will do something.
Right.
Something to make the village a little more dynamic. I think is one good way that they can improve Animal Crossing.
Well, do you think that's going to happen now? Because one of the biggest improvements we know about is the mayor system. Before, it's always been the turtle. I'm blanking on his name right now. I know it's like something.
Tortimer?
Tortimer, yes. I was thinking tortoise, and I was like, that's the animal itself. But yeah, Tortimer was the mayor in all these games before you, and he would just kind of be a signpost in a lot of ways. But now, I guess our character will be the mayor, and without having a choice. So maybe we won't have to do the Nook thing, paying off our house, because we should have one already. And maybe we'll interact differently. I mean, do you guys think that will be a key change that will benefit it? Or do you think?
I think having a different way of interacting with the villagers would hopefully bring a nice key change to things. So let's hope for the best in that regards. They really haven't released too many details on how it would change the game.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe close to release or after release, we'll experience it and find out for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said before, I never played Animal Crossing, but from what I see, it's like a game that you play in short bursts. Am I right on that? Like you log in, get your fruit, log out, and that's it. You play for like 15 minutes.
Well, I definitely would.
Is that what you're doing?
I would play for hours at a time sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do. But in high school especially, I would always be up. I'd get up a little bit earlier, play for about 15 minutes, get some things done, and then go to school and live my actual life. So yeah, it's one of Nintendo's slow burns.
That's always the impression I got from the game.
Yeah, that's what it's designed to be.
Yeah, that's what it's designed to be. But as Dr. Fink said, I don't think that's the way that a lot of people who got hooked were playing it.
Yeah.
To answer the question, like I haven't been following up at all on the 3DS version. Like I think I've made my break from the series. I mean I haven't really kept up, but like is it just me? Like we don't know how ambitious 3DSware is going to be, but is it just me, or does that game not scream for being on your 3DS at all times? Don't even need the cart. Like it should be like on the system.
It does. Yeah, definitely.
It does scream that because I played in short bursts also, and actually that's kind of how a lot of people promote it. I think even reviews started mentioning that it's a game that you play like 15 minutes at a time, and it would be great to go and just hop into Animal Crossing, live out your life, see what events there are, and then hop out, and you don't have to switch the game out to another game that you want to play. But the thing is, it's a bigger game, so it's a lot harder to fit into it. It's a bigger type of game, so it's a lot harder to fit into a DSiWare service than most games would.
I mean,
well, it wasn't like the original, the GameCube, like ridiculously small. Like it could fit inside the internal memory of the GameCube. Like basically, once you loaded it up, you could take the disc out. Am I remembering that correctly?
There was something like that. I remember testing that out myself. I think that was true until you had to like maybe go into a house or something. But
okay.
The world itself.
That feature actually was in a lot of the games, like Luigi's Mansion had that. It's basically I guess it preloads things onto GameCube memory, but whenever it has to load something, then you'll need the disc again. That was not just Animal Crossing, that was for a lot of GameCube games.
Okay, but I think that you could almost play like the whole game like without loading. So, that's all what I meant. Well, but anyway.
It would work as a downloadable game, definitely.
But the thing that worries me about that is, well, I don't know. It doesn't worry me, I guess, but it is a pretty full-featured game. There's a lot of assets. There's hopefully in the next one there's a lot of new music and everything. I guess maybe I would prefer it to be kind of like the Wii Fit thing on the Wii, where you have the game itself, but there is the channel.
And like an Animal Crossing channel, you mean?
Yeah, where you can do certain trades, and then it would just, when you boot up your game, you wouldn't have time to like copy an item or something. It would automatically update what's happened, and then your trades would be fine, all that sort of thing. So you couldn't cheat the system, but having like an actual shop that, or certain character interactions, or letters being passed, all sorts of stuff that I'm hoping they'll think of. But I'd rather it be an Animal Crossing channel and then have my actual cartridge with tons of stuff on it.
Do you want the city to be back, or do you prefer just the town?
I would prefer if things happen more in the town. But if there was a city aspect, that's fine. But just don't think that that's enough. I don't want them to do what they did in City Folk, but give me real reasons to go to the city.
Right.
But I don't even think it's necessary. They could go back to having Red be in a tent, which also makes him a little shadier. I like that shady Red comes into town with his weird fake paintings in a tent. That fits his character better than that. And then some of my favorite characters, like Wendell wandering through your town starving, and Pascal just taking a swim, or the Gulliver flying through. I mean, it just works really well in the town. I'd rather have the island back than a city, or something to that extent. I guess, or maybe even caves or something might be an interesting venue to go through. But as long as it's still connected to my town, I don't have to take transit. That's a Japanese thing I would think of. I mean, from what I understand, there's just lots of rail use because of the way that the country itself is designed. And here we drive a lot of cars, but I want the game to take me away from the normal transits that I do take, I guess, if that makes any sense. It's like an old-fashioned kind of countryside thing. I want to keep it like that.
Right, like you mentioned, maybe doing the island thing that they had with the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance connectivity, only expand on a little more and expand the main country village area.
Yeah, I mean,
and that could also play into making things more varied. Maybe there's like quests or like errands that you can run that will involve these new areas. Mountain, caves, etc.
Right. I would just.
Maybe I should play City Folk, since I never played any games. I won't find it disappointing. So.
Well, I don't think you will. I think you would enjoy it then.
I'm gonna give it a look, definitely.
Yeah. And don't worry about getting with WeSpeak though, because that's not used by anybody.
Oh, whatever.
So,
yeah. Like 3 games use WeSpeak, so yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit more hyped now for the 3DS version.
I expect it to be the pinnacle. I think that they've learned from their mistakes, and Wild World was definitely better than the original because they just upgraded so many things. So I think they've had their hands slapped, and now it's time to get us all to kiss their asses again. And I can't wait to pucker up.
Wow. Okay.
So with that, I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's the perfect way to end.